All right, so we can get started. So I'm Doria Stewart. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm so thankful and blessed to have, and I'm not going to call her a co-host. She's just another host and my partner with Nurse Talk, Redox Nurse Talk. And each week we are on every Tuesday about this time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we created this platform because we wanted to educate people on our global cellular health technology. And so we also like to invite guests to come on so we can hear their stories about what this technology has done for them personally and professionally. So we're very honored to have Bill Peery to be our guest, to be interviewed, which Cindy will do that later here this evening. Um, I just want to have some housekeeping things here. It's mainly for Cindy and I because I easily can get distracted. So if you walk away from your screen, just stop your video or make sure everybody's muted, of course. And if you are on the screen, and you're doing something, just try to be still if you can. So that'll just help me because I'll be watching you and not know what I'm saying. So I appreciate that. We also want to tell you that what you're about to hear is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or any medical health condition. So we wanted to share that with you. So now I would like to present my wonderful partner, Cindy Reed. So I want Cindy to share a little bit about how this technology came into her life and how it's impacted her personally and professionally.
Thank you, Doria. First of all, I just want to say we are so excited. So we just came off of our convention, and the things that we learned, it's really pushing this technology forward. And this is going to be a game changer. So keep your ears open, keep your eyes open. As things come out, we can share that as well. But actually, I was introduced to this technology about 4 years ago. And when I was introduced to it, I was already searching down that alternative pathway to manage my health. I had some health challenges in the autoimmune arena. So with this and taking it over time, it's not going to do anything obviously overnight, but over a span of probably about 2 or 3 years, I'm no longer on any medication. I'm symptom free. The energy and the sleep were the first things I noticed in the first couple of weeks that were really measurable. So and most people usually notice that pretty early on. But I also started thinking about the business side because, as with everybody, even then, before COVID and before the gig economy really got to be a thing, I was looking for something to bring in extra money, as we all usually do. So this was just in the way the model, the way it's laid out, and the fact there's no competition. I mean, you can't lose with this. You can't lose physically, you can't lose financially. So that's why I'm all on board. And thank you, Doria, for allowing me to share.
Cindy, can you share what kind of nurse you are?
Oh, sorry. Yes. We haven't done this for 2 weeks, so I'm rusty. So I'm a hospice nurse here in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's really been a challenge because I feel like I'm on both ends of the spectrum with dealing with patients who are dying or entering that phase. And then at the other end, I'm trying to heal people, well, not heal people, sorry, trying to get people feeling better so they don't end up on hospice. So it's really a tough challenge because it's a conflict of interest and I can't share with my patients. So, but thank you, Doria, for reminding me of that.
Yeah, thank you.
What about your testimony?
Yeah, so I have been a nurse for 42 years. Actually, it'll be October 8th will be 42 years. I love nursing. Nursing's been a ministry to me. I've been in all areas of the nursing field. Presently, I work in a gastroenterology clinic as a recovery room nurse 3 days a week. So this technology was presented to me by a friend of mine who's a dentist that lives here in Atlanta, Georgia. And he knew I was open to all kinds of different alternative ways of healing. I'm just going to say healing because that's what he told me. But, chiropractor care to oils to massage therapy, all that. So he said, hey, this might be something you want to take a look at. And at first I thought, I don't have any health challenges and I'm not on any medication. So I really don't see any need for this for myself. But, since I trusted my friend, I went ahead and looked at the information. And what I loved about it, because in all my years of nursing, everything that I have given to my patients is all had side effects to them. So this is non-toxic, works at the cellular level. And, I thought, well, if anything, I'm going to, take this more for promotional well-being. And so I started the product. I would say first in the 3 days that after I took the product, I slept through the night. 8 hours through the night, just really deep sleep. And I continue to do that since I've been on the product for 4 years. And I haven't slept like that in 25 years. I also had dealt with a lot of discomfort related to my joints and my back and my feet being working 12-hour shifts. And my when I would get off working my 12-hour shift after 2 days of that routine, it would take me a day to just to recover. And so after taking the product, I could, just get up and get going and do what I wanted to do. So there's lots of other little things that's really benefited me, but it's not all about me. It's all about, when we interview Bill later. So thanks, Cindy, for letting me share.
Okay. And we do have an awesome guest tonight. Bill Peery will be our speaker. But before we let Bill start, we're going to show a short video that gives you a look into the technology at a very basic level. So we have a Dr. Mark DeBrincat that we're going to use his video as he talks about redox signaling. So let's see if I can get through this without a debacle as usual. So let me share my screen and we will get started.
Today I'm here to talk about redox signaling molecules. So many of you maybe have never heard those words in a row before and actually know what that is. And so let me share. The inside of every one of our cells in our body, now remember we have over 100 trillion cells, and the inside of every one of those cells is filled with fluid. Well, that fluid is called redox signaling molecules. Now it's a very important fluid because it provides information to share with neighboring cells about what's going on in their world, in their environment. If there's something attacking that cell and interfering with the function of that cell, it needs to share that information with the cells adjacent. So we have these things called hydrophilic channels that open up like an aperture of a camera. And as that opens up, it literally sends light energy from one cell to the next to share information about what's been going on in that cell or attacking that cell. And that allows the neighboring cells to adapt so that they don't get damaged by whatever that invader is. So think of being in a hotel room and you have several family members that are in the adjoining rooms that have an adjoining door on the inside. And if somebody was trying to break into my door on the outside, I'm going to open up these inside doors and tell everybody to be ready because there's something bad happening outside. That's much how the lining of our gut is designed and built. And we need these redox signaling molecules to be able to send that information about what's going on in that gut and how we can defend against all the bacteria that's maybe overcoming and trying to invade and damage part of that gut lining. So why is this subject even important? Well, it's really interesting that every decade of your life, you lose 10% of the fluid in those cells. So if you think of a young cell, a healthy young cell, it's much like a round ball that's tight. Now, every decade of life, you lose 10% of the air. It doesn't look so round anymore. It gets more flat or more like a disc. So for those of us that are over 50 years old, we're functioning on half the fluid in our cells that we used to have when we were thriving and healthy. So this is an amazing supplement that you can take that we can actually restore that redox signaling molecules in each and every one of your cells. Now the process to do that takes 8 weeks of taking this product in order to fully get your cells full again. Now that's super important because our immunity depends on that, the function of our digestive system depends on that, the balancing of our hormones depend on that, but one of the most important things I like is the effect it has on the nervous system and allowing your nervous system to thrive and function. So many of you know I specialize in brain health and severe brain and spinal trauma. And so many of those patients that have had trauma to the brain, they've lost what we call the dominant frequency, which is the most important part of our brain. It's our true potential of what our brain can do. And this is one of the only products, supplement-wise, that we can take that will literally help grow a myelin sheath back around that brain and turn the cortex into very healthy, viable tissue once again. So this is something that they thought was impossible to do. Once your brain tissue's been damaged, you can't grow that back. So we do neurofeedback training to aggressively grow the tissue back and to reprogram the way the nervous system is functioning. But we also use those redox signaling molecules to make sure that the strength of the cells and that the communication between the cells works so much better. And we need to grow that protective layer around the brain. And this is one of the only products that I know can literally do that. So why is it important that we take this supplement? Don't our bodies make this for ourselves? Well, you know, they actually do. Many of you know about something called glycolysis, where we take sugar and insulin, and in the mitochondria of our cell, it's like the powerhouse of the cell. Those two things come together and gives us energy. It's called ATP, and this energy is vital to keep our bodies alive and to keep the charge going on our nerves, to make the nerves function and fire. Now, we literally produce our body's weight every day in that ATP, so it's super important. We produce it and burn it up for fuel every single day. That's the extent of what they teach on glycolysis, but what they're not saying is that engine that makes that energy, that the sugar and the insulin turns into ATP, it has an exhaust pipe. And out of that exhaust pipe is what comes redox signaling molecules. For decades, we thought it was a waste product. And then we learned that this is vital to the function of each and every one of our cells to be able to make that communication network happen so we can communicate from cell to cell to cell and know how to defend ourselves and how to keep ourselves healthy and alive. So for those of you that are new to this product, don't worry, it takes about 8 weeks before you're going to get the full effect of it. And then if you ever stop taking it, it takes 8 weeks for you to return to the state that you're at now. So this is definitely one of those products that years ago made it into my inner circle of things that I do for myself and that my family does for themselves, and for each and every patient that we're trying to restore proper nervous system and proper brain function. This is a critical nutrient that we want to make sure that you're taking in order to help us get the best results possible. So I hope that helps, and until next time, have a great day.
You're muted.
Did everyone hear? Was it too low? I tried turning it up.
That's good.
You could hear it, okay? Okay. And I'm not even sure if that was the one we used in the last time, but it's still related to redox, so I love that. So now we're going to introduce our guests. We have Bill Peery, and Bill Peery is a retired engineer and a real estate investor. He stays very busy. He is from Bluefield, Virginia. He has been with the CIA for 10 years, and he is married, has 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 1 on the way. And you may hear my grandson in the background. So they're visiting this week. So it's like I say, this is real, it's life. So we want to make this duplicatable for anybody that wants to start their own Zoom or just to share the technology. It's just pressing a button. So Bill, I'm going to let you share a little bit. So where were you when redox came across your pathway, and what did that look like?
Well, Cindy, we were in a desperate mode. This really goes back about 15 years ago, before even ASEA was even a company. My wife went to a routine eye exam, and I get a call from her crying, and for me to get down there, and she began to tell me that she's a CPA, and the doctor told her that in 10 years you won't be practicing as a CPA, and you probably won't be driving. And so I said, look, we'll get second opinions, and we did. And for about 5 years, we were headed down that path of her vision issue. And so a good friend of mine called me up, and like I said, we went to specialists, a couple different specialists, and they all pretty much concurred with the same diagnosis. And a friend of mine called me up and said, Bill, here's something that might be able to help Jill. And I said, he told me a little bit about it, what it did for some of his family members. And I said, well, Tom, we'll try anything. And actually got me on the phone with a guy who was head of research up in Washington, and got us, my wife as well. And he shared some information with her, and he suggested her to soak her eyes with it and drink it. And we got off the phone. We talked about it a little bit. She said, "Bill, I'm not putting this in my eyes, but I will drink it." I said, "Well, I don't blame you. Let's just, well, we don't have anything to lose. It's the only thing we've had any hope for." So we ordered, I think we ordered 4 cases of it, and started drinking it, and just couldn't really tell if it was really helping her eyes but we were seeing a lot of other things that was pretty crazy. And a couple of different instances. My dog got stung in the eye with a bee, and I sprayed it in there. It was swollen. You can imagine what it looked like. And I know this sounds crazy, but within 2 hours, you could tell the dog got stung. And I go, "Well, Jill, maybe I'll start putting this in your eyes." And she goes, "Bill, I just don't feel comfortable about doing that." But anyway, she grabbed the wrong end of a curling iron and burned her hand. And I don't know if any of y'all has been burnt by a curling iron, but it usually leaves a mark. But we soaked her hand in a coffee cup. We were watching a movie. First, we were going to put ice. I go, "No, let's just put in this stuff." And anyway, it never did blister. And at that point, she said, because we'd been taking it for probably about, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months. I'm not sure how exactly we've been taking it, but we were seeing great other results. And she goes, "I'm going to start soaking my eyes with it." And so she's been doing that ever since. That was 15 years, 10 years ago, we started taking this. And now every time she goes back to the ophthalmologist, the only thing he can say is, "I can't believe how good your eyes are. I can't believe how good your eyes are." So it's just, I feel blessed that this came into our life for that reason alone. And she sees better now than she did back then, which is just remarkable. And then my first grandson, he was just, when he was born, my daughter, she's an attorney, guardian ad litem. She was a single parent, 6 hours away from any relative to help. So she had a really big caseload. She represented children. And so she had to send my grandson to daycare. And he was just, at one point, he was just brilliant. At a very, very young age, he had this infatuation with letters, and he could put them together. He could read. I remember following around. We were over to some people's house. He was going behind the license plates, just reading the letters. That's all he just wanted to do. And so we thought he's just like a genius. I mean, he could read at age 2, 2.5, 3. And when he went to daycare, but he had no, we didn't know really at the time, but he didn't really have any communication skills. He wouldn't really converse back and forth with you. But when he went to daycare the first day, they called her up and said, "You need to get Roman tested," and tested for actually the spectrum. And well, Emily, my daughter, is in that area with children. She had the best of pediatricians, and so she obviously took him down and got him tested. And she called me up, and she told me that I said, it was just hard for me to believe, because I thought, and I didn't know anybody growing up that's even on the spectrum, and I didn't know anything about it. And once I started researching and looking into it, and the signs that he was instilling, that he was actually severe, and to the point where he had 3 goals. One was just to kiss fruit, because he wouldn't eat anything but just like chicken nuggets and milk. The other was to not have a complete meltdown getting out of a car seat or getting in a bathtub. And the other goal was just to make a noise with like a car or a truck, because he didn't have any imagination. And so those are the 3 goals that they were just working on. And where he wouldn't be able to communicate in the daycare, he was starting to get frustrated and hurting the other children. And, obviously we're talking back and forth, my daughter, and she said, they're going to, if he continues to do this, Dad, they're going to kick him out. And he went to a special school, but half a day, then the other half a day of the daycare. Well, as time went on, they said they were going to have to, just for liability purpose, remove him from the class. And she calls me up, and I said, look, I'll be right there. And I told her about the drinking the redox because I did do a lot of research. Actually, the guy who stabilized this redox, Dr. Samuelson, was a huge advocate in that area. So I actually spoke with him several times, actually met several different people. And I don't know what that is right there. But anyway, so I just immediately drove down and got with her, and I'd sent her some stuff, and she said, Dad, he won't drink it because she can't mix it with anything. And she was right, he wouldn't drink it. And so I went down and got with him, and we hung out there for about 3 or 4 days, and then I brought him back home because she had to interview some nannies. And so I don't know, is that someone, I guess, is that you, Cindy? Well, anyway, so I brought him back home, and I'd learned a lot of stuff about it. Actually, they found a doctor not too far from me had written a book on the young prescription for autism, Dr. Janet Lentella. And I got with her and talked to her about different protocols. And so when I got him, I thought, well, I'm bound and turning to get him to start taking this. Well, she was right. Every time I'd bring this blue bottle out here, he would be in the foyer. He would just get up, and he'd be in the living room. He'd get out and just walk into the foyer, just get away from it. He didn't want to take it, and I'd try to give him a little bit. He wouldn't take it. And then talked to Dr. Samuelson. He said, well, try some of the gel, this Renew 28. So I put the Renew 28 on him. You could rub it. It's a gel. It's a redox form that it's a topical. And I put it on his neck. I put it under his arms, his feet. He didn't mind me putting that on him. But it was about day 7. I thought, I got to do something different. I want to really try to get him to take it. And same thing, I would bring the little blue bottle out. And I had a big syringe. I just want to try to squirt in his mouth. Well, I'll just never forget this day, because when he came up to him, when I said, I got to do something different. So I just said, it's granddaddy's medicine, and I'd shoot a little bit in my mouth, and I'd get a little more out, and I'd shoot some in my mouth. And then all of a sudden he'd had this little grin on his face. And I thinking, he comes up to me, he's going to let me give him some. So I shot a little bit in his mouth, and I kept saying, I go, it's not so bad, Rome, it's not so bad. And when I shot that in his mouth, he just said, it's not so bad. And I know that doesn't sound much, but that's the first time he'd ever said anything that was appropriate. I know he was repeating me, but it was appropriate to him to say that. And so we just kept doing that, all day long, and I had him for about 3 weeks, and we did everything together. And he just started, we just played that game, how many times a day, I'm not sure, but I was always try to give him a little bit, or I'd put some of the gel on. And when I brought him back, I brought back a different child, and my daughter was just ecstatic. He obviously he's still on the spectrum, but his whole life was changing in front of him. He was in a fog, and he was coming out of it, and the meltdowns and all the making. And I had him back. It wasn't that much longer, and my mother had bought this thing, this Cars. It's a cartoon, and it's this big, and had all these different cars, and you roll this plastic track out, and he's over there racing each one of them and making the noises, and each one got to win, and it was just, it was just precious. And since then, now he's in 3rd grade. He goes to public school. We FaceTime all the time when I'm not getting him and seeing him, and it's amazing for where he is and where he was at that time. And so I'm just blessed to the core, and people just don't realize the magnitude with this technology that's already being made in our body, that when we can supplement what it can do. I mean, like I said, I've been around this for 10 years, and nothing shocks me if someone is compliant and will take this. And those are just 2 incidents that will ever be grateful for Tom sharing with this information, but all the other countless lives that I've shared this with, directly or indirectly, is it's just a blessing.
That's awesome, Bill. When you were introduced to this, did you have any hesitation? It sounds like you were just at the end of your rope and you just were willing to try anything.
Sandy, I didn't research it. I didn't do anything. A lot of times people go, I want to research this, research that. But I mean, now there's so much research and so much validation. It's just easy to do. And back then there were some, later on I started looking at it, because I started telling some of my friends, my family, my mother, she's 86 and she's like the Energizer Buzzy.
Oh, wow.
And so, so I had no hesitation, because that was the only thing someone's ever offered us, that we might have a chance. Right. So no hesitation whatsoever. And then, you got to give it some time on certain things. Some things you'll see it a lot quicker than others, but if you give this a time, this cannot not help. Right. It will work 100% of the time. You might not get the results you're looking for, the time frame you want it, but it will always be doing something, because that's what our body does. It's designed to heal itself, and this is the piece that does that. I mean, if you think about it, redox signaling controls everything. Every heartbeat is because of redox signaling. I mean, everything you do, say, or anything is because of the cell communication. They just don't stay there. And so we're just fortunate, and I think probably the worst thing that could happen with people that hear about it. I mean, if I just wouldn't have, just wasn't desperate, who knows if I wouldn't have taken or whatever, what our life would be like. And then I think the biggest regrets on a lot of people, that they've heard about it and they could have shared it with someone, and maybe it could have made a difference in their lives. And because it's safer than anything you can put in your body, because it's native and it can't hurt you.
And as we learned this past week, more science on there and the things that it can do and how it's working. But like some of the doctors on our medical professional boards have said, like you said, it can't not work. The thing is, it's working on such a cellular level. We don't see everything. And like you said, it depends on what these signaling molecules think is more important. It may be working on something you haven't noticed the improvement in yet. So you may not get exactly what you're looking for. Hold on one moment.
Well,
this is my grandson. Say hi.
Hey,
hi. Say hi. You going to bed? Night night. Say night night. Night night. Okay. Give me a kissy. Give me a kissy. Night night. Love you. He's gonna give you a kissy. Okay. All right. See you in the morning, buddy. Okay. Night night. But like I said, it can't not work. It's just finding what it will. And like you, I think Dr. Brimcat, the video we just watched, really suggested 60 days, 90 days. I suggest for most people, if they will do 3 to 6 months minimum, to get something going. And again, the longer you're on it. And Bill, what else have you noticed for you since you've been on this? Have you noticed? I know you got it for your wife and for your grandson.
Yeah, I take it every day. There's never hardly ever day I will not take
Mhm.
this. I think it's just I like the energy that it provides. I mean, I've had some, some of these viruses and stuff, it seemed like made a little difference with that. It's just, I mean, like I said, we're not making any claims here, but, when you can help your body improve, that's just part of one of the systems that helps the immune system. I know, I think some of this new topical stuff like the mask and the radiance, the self-performance stuff have been a big deal too, because you can actually see it and feel it so much quicker.
Right.
And so, there's stuff that we don't know really what it has done, because I take it all the time. You just don't know what comes about. We deal with bad stuff, bad cells all the time, and we don't know what, we can't see inside. If you got a cut or something, or a wrinkle or something like that, you put it on there, it seems like make things happens pretty quickly. But I just I think me seeing other people improve is just addictive. When you can help somebody in a manner that a lot of times they're like me, that has given up and didn't have the hope. And I think that's one of the biggest rewards, not just what it's done for my family, but for other people too.
How many people would you say you changed their lives with this? Any idea, ballpark?
It's individually, and then not, this where I've shared it, and just I've got a fairly sized organization now. I mean, I would say 1,000. I mean, really. I mean,
Even the thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because I do calls all the time. People I don't even know, they call me up, and I'm happy to help a lot of on the spectrum. And so it's just probably at least once a week I'm doing a call, and they're not even on my team, so I don't know them really. That someone's called and they know I'll be happy to help them. So it's hard to tell really how far that thing goes. It's kind of a ripple effect. So I really, it's hard to put a number, but gosh, it's got to be a lot,
Well, that's the thing, like you said, you don't really know, because you don't know who's shared and how far down it's gone, down the line it's gone. And
Right.
that's the amazing part. And like you said about not knowing what's going on underneath the surface, a lot of things can brew for several years before you have a issue. So yeah, I like to think about what it's actually doing that I may not know. I like to
Yeah.
trust that. And it is about just trusting the science. And sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith. So when doctors give patients medications, do they say, wait a minute, doc, I need to run home and research this? Or do they even know what the side effects are? I mean, the doctors don't even usually mention that. They leave it up to you to look at the little pamphlet and the little flyer that comes in with all the writing that no one wants to sit there and look at, just to know the side effects. So we just sometimes have to take that leap of faith. And the fact that we're telling people this is non-toxic, it's in your body already, there's nothing this can do to cause you issues. And in fact, it can make some things work better that you may already be doing.
Oh,
So I love
absolutely.
that. I'm going to turn it over to Dory and let her ask her questions, and then we'll have some time for questions afterwards if you're up for that, Bill.
Sure.
So Bill, while you were talking, I can relate to you very well, because my son was on the spectrum, although we did not know it until he was in his late 20s. So it was very frustrating for us. I mean, we thought he was reading too at 2 years of age. We just thought he was a savant. We thought maybe he's just a genius,
Right.
and just watching him struggle with a lot of things that you were sharing is heartbreaking to watch that, and you're thinking, what else can I do? And we did everything and anything that we could do for our son, I'll say our son, because my husband and I, but, my son passed away 7 years ago, and that's a different story. But anyway, that's my why, is because he was on the spectrum, and you know, he dealt with a lot of anxiety or, nervousness or anxiety. And, I would have done everything. And I know that if I had known about this would have, certainly helped him deal with some challenges that he was dealing with. So it is heartbreaking. You'll do whatever you can do to help your loved ones. But what I want to ask you is, your wife eventually started putting the drops in her eyes, or did she just take it in by mouth?
She started soaking her eyes. She uses an eye cap, and
Okay.
it's shaped like your eye, and she'll every morning she'll put it in there. She'll put some drops throughout the day. But what other she started doing is she'd use the intense serum and put on her eyelids at night. And
Okay.
I think that was at first we didn't have that, and when we first or the Renew 20, either one, just something on there that, because it has a deep penetration. And yeah, that she started, I'm not exactly the exact time frame when she started soaking her eyes, but that was I think the game changer. Anytime you can, it's just like when we put the gel on for, or the mask on for our skin. We can see that. Well, your eyes are touchable. So in the organs we don't. It's going to go where it needs to go. But when you can put something on there concentrated on a concentrated area and soak it, then it's going to respond, because that's what our body does. It's like when you cut yourself, your body knows how to stop a bleed, but you can add this to it, and all it's doing is putting a lot more signal and say, hey, well, Bill cut himself again, let's get it stopped. And that's why it stops so quickly when you add stuff to it.
For sure. And then the other thing I was asking, so what did you started Romeo on? What was the dosage that you started him on initially?
Well, the dosage, as far as drinking it, I don't even know how. It was one of those big syringes, and you'd get some in there and some wasn't. There was nothing ever calculated, because I was just tickled to death. Anytime I could get some in him, I was just playing games with him, and I would shoot it throughout the day. I mean, you can't hurt him with it, so now the gel, I just at the beginning, I was just rubbing it. I'd rub it on his neck, under his arm, on his feet, anywhere I could get some on me, and just to trying to get this in his system. And now too, there's, when you're dealing with the spectrum, there's a lot of other things too. This might not be just the holy grail for every, it's going to be the one that draws everything together. But it's kind of like the carpenter syndrome. If you keep hammering your thumb with a hammer, you can put this stuff on all the time, but it's still, some things you got to maybe look at, and that's where maybe stop doing, or maybe do something else with here. And maybe you're doing all the stuff right, and this right here is just going to be the thing that can really make a difference. But but there's other things as well.
Yeah. So what does he currently take now? Is he still on the product?
I don't know how much he takes. I don't think he takes as near like he did. I mean, he's doing fine, but what the initial thing, and I don't want to go into detail, because we got to be compliant with it, with this. But yeah, it's I don't think we ever had a full dose, but I know that the doctor that I really became good friends with, who wrote this book, that's now, she had 3 children herself, and they were all on the spectrum. One was severe, and she didn't have this at the time. She used like the hyperbaric chamber, and she was a chiropractor. Her husband's an MD, and she followed a protocol then. And so now she uses this with the protocol. So she has different dosage, what she wants them to start on, and, stuff like that. But yeah, it's just, it's like everything's, everybody's different, as far as, but the main thing is just if you could get it in their system, and then there's going to, I feel sure that there could be some really good stuff happening.
Yeah, excellent, awesome. Well, I don't have any other questions, so we'll open it up for anyone that's on the call to either raise your hand so you can ask. Oh, there it goes. Raise your hand, or like Barbara's doing right now. So Barbara, go ahead.
Well, first of all, Bill, I appreciate you sharing your story all these years. It's been wonderful having you as a resource to help us all out. Do you recommend that when people want more information about Gary Samuelson and his studies, would they find that on YouTube, or where's the best resource for them to look deeper into that?
There's there are some stuff on YouTube. There's a webinar that I did and Dr. Lentella did, and has a couple other testimonies. She kind of breaks it down. You could go on healthprowebinars.com. It's the third one. It's just I think it has autism. Gosh. Well, anyway,
it's the Health Pro webinar with the password being associate.
Associate,
yeah. You have it's capital A, and then how you spell associate, but the first letter is capitalized.
It's about the third one, and it's lengthy. Dick Walker gets on and talks about redox, and then I share my story. Then she kind of gives she has a degree in genetics. And that's when that Tarrant lab came out, and she was really excited about that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
And also, Bill is on the Real Redox Results website. Bill, what number are you on that?
81.
81 as your testimonial. So if anybody wants to go and hear Bill again, or maybe a little bit different version, you can go to realredoxresults.com, and the password is redox, all lowercase. Go to number 81. Other questions? Anyone else? And I think there was something in the chat. So someone asked if you use the serum on the eyelids. Are you talking about the blue tube, the intensive redox serum?
Yeah, either one. I mean, that one's just more intense. It's got a little more potency, but you can put the gel on there. And if anybody would like to talk to me later, get with the person that invited you, and you can get with Cindy or Dory, and they can give you my number. I'd be happy to talk to you about it in depth. And any, like I said, I probably do it at least once a week with somebody.
Let's see, are there any other questions?
Another quick one. How do we get the replay of tonight's training?
It will be uploaded to YouTube. So go to YouTube and search Redox Nurse Talk, and it should pop up. It'll take me a little bit. It may be tomorrow before it gets totally uploaded and ready to go, but I will get it there as quickly as I can. All right, I see some other hands. Barbara, did you have anything else? All right, Marita?
Thank you so much, Bill, for coming on tonight. Wow, what an incredible story. Double story. How do you spell that lady's name? You were talking about her writing a book.
It's Lintala. And now she wrote that book after, before, she found out about the redox. But there's but so she doesn't have that in her book, but she is definitely a user of it.
And you said she had 3 children on the spectrum?
Yeah, one of them was severe. And you know what's great? They've all are in college. 2 of them has graduated. They've got, I remember she called me up. She goes, Bill, he has a girlfriend, And he was actually, going through college, he was a bartender. And she goes, very social is not the norm, And so, but no, it's just, that's a great book. It's Janet Lentella. It's The Unprescription for Autism, is the name of the book.
Could you repeat that again? Unprescription
for Autism. Yeah, it's a great book. It's one like 8 international awards. She was asked at Harvard to write another book, and she's working on that now. But it's a great resource of diagnosing, and it's drawn out. I mean, if you get it, if you know anybody that has someone on the spectrum, definitely get that book. And because there are so many things that if you do tweak one little thing, could just make a difference for these people. It's just I don't want to call these people, these children or adults or anyone, But no, like I said, where we were, because my daughter, she had represented a couple children that were older, that were just like Roman. It was very, you thought they were a genius, and they were still going to the bathroom in their pants, and they were rubbing feet on the wall. They were just not social at all. And I mean, we can't promise anything with anything, but this will make a difference. And there is some things that we can do, or people can do, that can make a huge difference with this. And it's getting out of hand, the rate of children born. And if it keeps going the way it's going, I mean, I forgot what the last statistic, someone's like 101 out of 40 some, and a lot of girls don't get the same diagnosis, so it's you think it's all predominantly with boys and men, but there's a lot of, but it's just, they're just different, and but that book right there will help people with a lot of different issues. And then when you add this, it really makes a difference.
Well, thank you for that information. I'm a retired high school teacher. Wow. I could see how it could have helped several of those knuckleheads I had in class. And then some of them that were non-communicative.
Yeah.
They gave you a smile, but not able to do any other sharing. But thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And if you'd like to talk to me any more about it, I'd be happy to.
We'll take one last question. So Marcel, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, I missed the end of it because I had a call I had to take. But so your grandson, he's almost well now, or he's just a lot better?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, he still has his quirks, but we all have quirks. But I mean, he's just completely came out of his shell. But he still likes to be by himself some, it's just, but he's got 4 other siblings now. So, and so he's, we just talk now. It's just, there's nothing, but he's in 3rd grade. He's got a girlfriend. That's what Emily, she told me, she goes, "You're not going to believe this, Dad."
That's great.
We met at camp, he was playing basketball on a basketball team, and this little Peery. And
That's good.
But yeah, he's ride a bike, he swims, just stuff that, but is he still inspired? But he's just so smart. I mean, he's brilliant. And it's just, but some of the only things I think that are really, when you say something literary, if it's raining cats and dogs, he might be looking, it's, because he's thinking, he's really analytical, he goes,
Right.
"Well, I don't see any cats and dogs, Granddad, but they go, but it's like a figure of speech, so, but he's, but no, he's, he's doing great. He's doing
That's
great.
wonderful.
He'll do great things. He will.
Now your wife's eyes, did they get better?
Yeah, I mean, her eyes are great. Now the doctor says that she still has that, but I try to tell him a little bit about this because I've helped a ton of people with this too, sharing this information. But no, her eyes are great. She's still practicing the CPA, and she's great. We golf probably almost every day, you know, so she had a problem seeing. And no, she's doing great with it. I mean, for what all the specialists and you know, the doctor told her at the beginning, you know, she's when he'd be practicing 10 years. Now we're over 15 years, 5 years way past what they said she wouldn't even be driving, you know, so pretty nice.
And how about Alzheimer's? What kind of results have y'all seen in that?
Well, you know, like I said, we can't really make diagnosis, but you know, if there's cells involved, which everything is cells, you know, there you can see some good results. I mean, you know, there's uh, nothing shocks me. Like I said, nothing shocks me anymore. What your body's designed to do. It's just as we age, we lose the communication of the production of this redox signaling. So therefore, your body wants to fix it. If the blueprints, you know, is changed because they're not functioning or there's an issue there, you know, your body wants to do it, but if it doesn't have enough firemen in there to fix it, you know, because we lose what you know he said about 10% every decade. You know, we lose 10%. So I'm in my 60s, so I'm operating on 35%. You know, versus when I was 6. And so it just stands to reason if you add more of this to you and your body's got some tools to work with, we could see some really neat stuff happen.
And Marcel, are you familiar with the Real Redox Results website?
I think Debbie gave you that. Yeah, I'll have to
Okay.
go through that.
There are some testimonials on there. You can just search based on the categories on the left side. I think you'll find some based
Okay.
on with memory challenges. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
You
Thanks.
know, and you know, another thing that you can always look at that's that I like to is there's a site that all your universities put their information on, and it's called scholar.google.com because every major university is studying redox signaling. There's not one out there. In fact, there's over 3 million articles have been published on redox signaling. So if you type in scholar, scholar.google.com, scholar.google.com, and then in the search bar, it'll have Google Scholar. Just type in redox signaling and whatever issue you want to look at, and there'll be thousands probably.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's over 3 million. So it's just it's something I like to just look at when someone says it does this for that. I said, well, you know, we can't really make a claim on it, but they're definitely researching, you know, what the capabilities of redox signaling is. And then we do have a lot of validation now.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Well, Bill, we thank you for coming on for this. This has been very informative, and as with any of the testimonials that we have, someone's meant to hear this, whether it's through the Zoom or whether just from word of mouth from you. So we will continue to share this, and we do post this to YouTube so anyone can see it tomorrow possibly, and then share it with someone that may have some of the same issues that are challenges. So Bill, we just appreciate this so much. Thank you. You're such a sweet friend, and I think I met you 3 years ago in Texas, and then really more so when you came to Nashville 2 years ago from this month, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You came up to Charlotte.
I did this year. Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I think I put you and Doria to do this is just awesome. You know, to do this every Tuesday night. You know, to have someone to come in and hear you guys, and it speaks volume.
Well, we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it with our guest. So thank you. All right, Doria, you want to close for us?
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple things before we end here. So just to kind of give some people some information, Dr. Gary Samuelson was part of the Autism One conference. So if you go to YouTube, I think it's dated 2016 Autism One conference. And so he talks about redox signaling molecules, you know, being one of the things that might help, you know, the people that are on the spectrum. So I just want to let you know about that. And then like Bill was referring to PubMed NIH, which is the National Institute of Health. You know, you're not going to see our company's name on there, but if you put redox signaling molecules and you put in anything you want, just fill in the blank, then it'll populate some peer review articles of research, just like Cindy had shared. And Bill had alluded to, there's major universities, that are studying redox biochemistry. So those are some things you can look at. But yes, so, we're thankful that you're on here. I know some of you probably have heard about redox signaling molecules, and if you have not, then get back to the person that invited you, to the Zoom, so that we can send out more tools. We usually show different videos in the very beginning of our nurse talk, and we like to use different ones just to get a different perspective from even practitioners on how they explain redox signaling molecules. And like Bill and myself and Cindy, we all are sharing this. We're just educating people. We're just the messenger, and what people do with this is really up to them. But for each person, like Bill said, he's helped about 1,000 people. That's 1,000 lives that he has changed, not only physically, but probably financially too. And I know myself and Cindy, our heart is to begin, hopefully share this, full time, so that we can retire from nursing, even though we love it so much. But it's a way. So if you're hearing this and you think, okay, this is I need more information, then get back with the person that sent you to the call. But if it's kind of like thinking, gosh, I can think of a lot of people that could really benefit from this, then you can come in as a preferred customer and, get and be on the product for like 30 to 90 days, at least 90 days, and even 6 months. And then if you're like us and you want to share good news, then you can come in as an associate. So there's different ways that you can come into our business. The culture, we didn't talk about that. I was hoping we'd have a little bit of time to share about that, but we just came from convention. We felt like we went to a big family reunion. It was just really, really special. So next week we have Terry Latham. He is a business-minded gentleman. Didn't know what he didn't even know what H2O was. So anyway, we're going to have him on next week, and it'll be really, really good. But he has some personal testimonies too, but he'll be awesome to hear from. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, same time.
Everyone have a good night, and we will see you next Tuesday then. I'm going to stop
Thanks,
the recording.
lady.
Thanks.